And today was a day just like any other.
Wasted on you, and every word you say something sweet, 'cause all I taste is blood between my teeth as I'm fighting the words. You're getting away. Well, I'm ready to drop. I'm ready. So don't stop, I'm ready, so don't stop. Keep pushing, I'm ready to fall. I'm ready, so don't call. I'm ready, so don't call. Disconnect my heart, my head. Don't wanna recognize when things go bad. The things that you'll accept that I am finding the words to say I'm ready to drop. I'm ready, so don't stop. I'm ready, so don't stop.
I wake up to find it's another 4 aspirin morning and I dive in. I put on the same clothes I wore yesterday. When did society decide that we have to change and wash a t-shirt after every individual use? If it's not dirty, I'm gonna wear it. I take the stairs to the car and there's fog on the windows.
I'm finding the world.
I need caffeine in my bloodstream. I take caffeine to the bloodstream. I grip the wheel, and all at once I realize,
And you're getting away.
my life has become a boring pop song and everyone's singing along.
I'm ready to drive. Well, I'm ready, so don't stop. Well, keep pushing. I'm ready to fall. Well, I'm ready, so don't call. I'm ready, so don't
Was that good?
Hey everyone, if you haven't noticed, we're doing a little bit of a theme today. Um, if you haven't been paying attention, it is the month of June, and the month of June has been commandeered by a certain set of people with various interesting lifestyles. And while we would like to welcome anyone to watch this channel or be a part of the Jewish Alliance for the First Amendment. The truth is, I don't think I don't think everyone really fits this type of belief system, and we do have to draw a line at a certain point. And I think the line I've always looked at where you have to keep people from really, um, warping society standards is in terms of some of these groups that are sexually based. Um, we're gonna go through the various pride flags because supposedly it's Pride Month. Um, Everything is about pride this year. What I would say is that you can give them a whole month of pride, but they'll never recover any of their dignity, the people who participate in it, because it's all about just debasing your entire image and life in order to embrace just bizarre behavior, right? And if people want to do that, I think we've given enough latitude in society, but now it's actually, I think, starting to harm society as a whole. We're starting to have people to basically obsess about it and have entire realms of entertainment and the arts that are completely dedicated and controlled by it. Let me see, is the stream still working? That's what I want to make sure. It says that it's still working on YouTube, so I'll try to monitor it. It's not actually looking like the stream is very healthy, but I'm going to try to power through this. We have a presentation. Yes, I made a PowerPoint, so sit back and enjoy. Let me see if I can get it up. This must be pretty boring for you guys back home. Yeah, so I found a guide to all of the different pride flags, and it's pretty interesting. Now, I think you could name one of the flags here, but you might not be able to name any of the other ones, and it will get consistently more interesting and absurd as we keep going, to the point where I just got tired of doing the PowerPoint, and I'm just going to pull up the original source for, I think, the last half because there's just way too many. And I figured I'd do this just because it's been kind of a gloomy year. We have to have fun with something. Why not have the fun at the expense of somebody? Really, in some cases, I don't know if we're even having the fun at the expense of anyone, because I'm pretty sure some of these are completely made up and just done by people who want to play with the Paint program on their Microsoft Windows operating system, right? That they've discovered that they want to paint online. So here we go. 1 second. So there is the original flags, the rainbow pride flag, and which is a 6-striped rainbow pride flag, which is often used to symbolize the entire LGBTQ plus community, though it was based on Gilbert Baker's original 8-striped rainbow flag. The pink and turquoise from the original design were excluded for ease of production. So the original one apparently was this one, and from what I saw in the explanation, at a certain point the pink fabric became too expensive, so he dropped that. But by the way, I believe that the blue got dropped too. Isn't that interesting? And apparently it's been re-included. But I've seen versions of this where there is no blue. I don't know what meaning to derive from that. Nick's Radio says there are leather fetish and rubber fetish flags. I can't imagine what other weird stuff as flags. Well, we're going to get to it, unfortunately. Then there's this one. You might remember about 5 years ago. It says 2017, so I guess, yeah, so 6 years ago. The Philadelphia flag was designed in 2017, adding black and brown stripes to the 6-striped rainbow flag in order to give representation to queer and trans BIPOC. The city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania officially adopted the new pride flag in 2017, giving the design its name. Okay, so that's for starters. Okay, yeah. For some reason, I put a transition here. The original pride flag was created in 1978 by Gilbert Baker. Baker was urged by Harvey Milk to create a symbol for the LGBT community, and he chose a flag which he saw as the most powerful symbol of pride. Baker saw the rainbow as a natural flag from the sky, so he adopted 8 colors for the stripes, each with its own meaning. Hot pink for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for art, indigo for harmony, and violet for spirit. Now, I don't know much else about this Gilbert Baker, but what I did read was that he was also part of that Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence group, and eventually left because he said that they were going about it wrong, and they were being too provocative and causing actual problems for gay people. Let's see. So I don't know why the stream keeps falling behind. All right. The next one. This is the BIPOC flag. So it wasn't enough that they had to add the stripes. They had to make a new one that was including the raised fist. So that one was also very recently they created that. Let me see. Okay, queer people of color flag. That's what they call it. So then, this is when it starts to get a little strange. It'll keep getting strange. It says the polysexual pride flag, which describes those who have romantic, sexual, or affectionate desire for more than one gender. The polysexual pride flag was created on Tumblr in 2012. So it's worth including this on pride flag guides simply because some person, a user, created the flag on Tumblr. The stripes symbolic meaning are similar to the pansexual pride flag, but with green replacing yellow to differentiate them. So we'll get to pansexual in a second. Then there's the bisexual pride flag. Bisexuality is an orientation defined as sexual, emotional, or romantic attraction to people of the same and other genders, or towards people regardless of their gender. The bisexual pride flag was created by activist Michael Page. Each of the colors symbolize some kind of attraction: same-sex or same-gender attraction, magenta; attraction to other sexes and genders, blue; and attraction to both same and other sexes, genders. So this is misinformation, and it's pretty easy to understand why. It's because the prefix bi in bisexual can only mean the number 2. It doesn't mean poly. It doesn't mean more than 2, because that would be the poly. So you already have an identity for people who are attracted to multiple genders, as many as possible, right? Which is in itself ridiculous because there are only 2. Bisexual is meant to be explicitly talking about being attracted to both men and women. That's what it always was. Until now, they've created these, I guess, expansion pack genders, and they just want to confuse everything. When I was a kid on Mad TV, they used to use the term confused to allude humorously to people that were gay or bisexual or transgender. And while it wasn't mean-spirited, it was clearly meant to make fun of it, right? And what's so ironic today is that as much as they try to say, well, we're only trying to make gay people feel more accepted, they're only confusing the rest of the public and even younger people when it comes to these topics. And in my opinion, you shouldn't even be telling people who are in grade school about this at all, because what actual use does it come to them for? You see at the bottom, pansexual is an orientation with the potential for emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction to people of any gender. This pansexual pride flag was designed in 2010. The original creator, who is currently unknown. The colors symbolize attraction to women, pink, attraction to men, blue, and attraction to non-binary folks, which I guess would be yellow. So is this offensive because it didn't actually say the color of what non-binary are? And look, so you compare the bottom and the top flags here. There's really no reason that there would be a need to have a green flag and a yellow flag, a green versus a yellow. They serve the same purpose. So this is what they call, and this is something Pete Buttigieg himself has said, this is a distinction without a difference, right? Let me see, I think this has, whoops. Okay, so we're running into the part where I stopped. So I'm sorry, but the presentation isn't much longer, but we're going to go to the main thing. There's the asexual pride flag. So asexuality describes a spectrum of sexual orientations in which people do not experience sexual attraction only situationally, or do not desire partnered sexual activity. The asexual pride flag was created in 2010 to bring awareness to the asexual community. The colors represent asexuality as a whole, which is black, gray asexuality, and demisexuality, gray, or sexuality, white, and community, which is purple. For whatever reason, they threw in community. This is this is as dumb as it gets, because how can you be asexual if you only situationally have sexual experiences? So then you are sexual. So if once in a while, let's say you live in Scotland and it's really cold weather, and you can't get in the right mood because the weather is just getting you down all the time, and yet there's no other human beings around, and so you're asexual, right? Because you're not able to get aroused. Larry says, unless a person is out seeking a date, why the F do they tell people what their sexual preferences are? Well, that's the whole point of this, which is that what we're here to discuss the fact that this is about people demanding that others pay attention to them. It's all about pay attention to me. Sorry, that's the old that is the old thumbnail that I made last week. So we're going to go back to the source here, okay? Because I only made so much of the presentation. Forgive me for being sloppy. So we're going to go to the next one. This one's simple enough. The lesbian pride flag. Lesbian describes women whose primary attraction is toward women. Some not, but then you can't. It can't be too easy, right? You can't give them a gimme question. Lesbian describes women whose primary attraction is toward women. Some non-binary people may also identify as lesbians due to a connection to womanhood, the lesbian community, and a primary attraction to women. A lesbian pride flag was designed in 2010, featuring a red lip mark in the corner meant to represent lipstick lesbians. After the designer was accused of transphobia, biphobia, and racism, an updated flag was released in 2018, right? Because God forbid that a woman who actually is attracted to other women who are women that gets to define what the flag is, right? Yeah, this is what's so funny, that the other flags, some loser who had a Tumblr account was able to they claim, I lay claim to the land of polysexual. That's what they that's what they did. like they landed on Greenland and they planted their flag there, and this is polysexual land. So that was what happened with that. But with the lesbians, you can't let them have their own thing, because so many weirdos decide that lesbianism is amazing, so they want to become lesbians, even though they can't, for a very simple and obvious reason they can't, right? It's actually staring them right in the face when they bend over. Um, they they just can't accept the fact that there's a definition here, and if you don't meet the definition, you don't get to do it. It's like the kid who wants to become, a velociraptor when they grow up, and who's going to break it to him that you can't? The colors represent gender nonconformity, which is dark orange, independence, which is middle orange, community, light orange. I only see two oranges here, so this is bullshit. Unique relationships to womanhood, white. Serenity and peace, light pink. Love and sex, middle pink, and femininity, dark pink. So I only see 2 shades of pink and 2 shades of orange. So whoever made that doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Intersex pride flag. So this one I've heard is correct. It's the one that they use. Intersex is an umbrella term that describes a wide range of natural physical variations that do not fit into conventional definitions of male or female. Intersex variations include variations in chromosomes, hormone balance, and external and internal characteristics. The intersex pride flag was created in 2013 by Morgan Carpenter as an image people could use to represent intersex people without depending upon misconceptions or stereotypes. The purple circle symbolizes wholeness, completeness, intersex people's potentialities, and their right to make their own decisions about their bodies. So, with all the other comments I'm going to make tonight, I understand why people want to come together as this group, because they don't really have they don't have who to necessarily categorize with, because often these people feel excluded based on physical characteristics that are not their fault. So are you supposed to blame them for wanting to come together and say, hey, this is a flag that symbolizes our common issue here, the issue that we have where we're kind of caught in the middle? So I don't have a problem with, saying I understand why they have a flag for that, why they maybe have get-togethers and talk about the issues for that. Next is the transgender pride flags. Transgender is an identity and umbrella term describing people whose gender identity is different from cultural expectations based on the sex they were assigned at birth. The transgender pride flag was designed by Monica Helms in 2000. The flag consists of 5 horizontal stripes, 2 blue stripes representing the traditional color for baby boys, 2 pink stripes representing the traditional color for baby girls, and a white stripe for people who are transitioning by non-binary and agender. The symmetrical design of the flag means that it is viewed correctly regardless of the direction it's flown, symbolizing all of the people trying to find what correctness means for themselves. Larry says this is as complicated as the UN. Well, at least at the UN, they're milking it for money and influence, right? They're trying to get that aid money. So okay, so the transgender definition would be clear, but for the next definition, which is genderqueer. Genderqueer is a gender identity in which people reject notions of static categories of gender, embracing a fluidity of gender identity. People who identify as genderqueer may see themselves as both men and women, as neither men nor women, or as falling completely outside the gender binary, which would be the same as neither men nor women. This flag was created by Marilyn Roxy in 2011. The lavender stripe represents androgyny as a mixture of the blue and pink, as well as queer identity and community. The white stripe represents agender and gender-neutral identities. The green stripe is the inverse of the lavender, representing non-binary people and all who identify outside the gender spectrum. So what was lavender again? Androgyny is a mixture of the blue and pink. I don't know. I mean, how much? Um, Sylar says, I'm pissed that I know what those colors represent. Well, it's going to keep getting more and more um, interesting. So then you have agender. So we already had asexual. So those are people that don't have sexual feeling or only sometimes. So you or I or any of us or any person who's ever existed would fall under asexual, because it includes people who sometimes are not in the mood to have sex, according to what they said. But this is agender. That has to be different, right? Why? Because somebody needed another flag. Agender is an identity in which people do not identify with any gender existing completely outside of the gender spectrum. Well, wouldn't that also be under genderqueer? I don't know. Because they made another flag. So I guess not. The agender pride flag was created in 2014 by Salem X, whoever the hell that is. The black and white stripes represent an absence of gender. Well, if black is the opposite of white, and they both represent the absence of gender, what represents the presence of gender? I mean, how do you square that circle? The gray represents semi-genderlessness, and the central green stripe represents non-binary genders. Larry says, I haven't been getting notifications in months. Well, I haven't been streaming that much. This just felt like a funny topic to do, and I don't really do that many streams. And maybe I did another stream like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't even remember at this point. And it's not really because I have to. It's just because once in a while, I think there's a topic that might be, either fun or important. I figure a lot of you have many very good sources to go to, so I'm not under pressure personally to really make this into a thing I do regularly right now, because honestly I have so much going. What's so bizarre about what we're covering today is that now that I work a job where my main stuff is in the office every day, and I get to deal with stuff that seems like a normal job, and I have normal responsibilities. I'm married now. That's why this stuff with these flags seems so ridiculous, because you realize how they've created they've created something that looks like something real to them, but is so obviously fake to everyone else. So then, non-binary pride flag. Non-binary describes those who do not identify on the gender binary of woman and man. Non-binary people's gender identity may be completely outside of the gender binary, or fall on the spectrum between man and woman. So it could be anywhere, right? It could be man, it could be woman, it could be neither, it could be everything, it could be nothing, it could be right. could be you, it could be me. Right? So you could be non-binary, you could be non-binary, Larry could be non-binary, right? If you're watching out there, you might be non-binary, right? Because it could be anything, right? It could be Lucky Charms, it could be it could be a pomegranate, it could be anything, right? It's created in 2014 by Kai Rowan. It's meant to represent non-binary people who didn't feel represented by the genderqueer flag. So again, so this flag up here, which was meant to include almost anything under the sun, they decided, well, we don't want to be under the sun. We're going to make another one, right? Very similar, remember, to the pansexual and the polysexual. There's only one difference, which is green versus yellow. Otherwise, it's the same definition. And the same goes for non-binary and genderqueer, apparently, right? So this isn't so straightforward. Okay, so Sylar, I'm curious about that commie pi symbol. Well, that one, I was reading this a couple days ago as I was preparing this, and I was like, whoever wears this is an idiot. It says polyamory pride flag, unless obviously you're in a relationship. So let me explain why it's stupid. Okay, polyamory describes those who are consensually engaged in or open to multiple loving relationships at the same time. Polyamory is sometimes used as an umbrella term for all forms of ethical, consensual, and loving non-monogamy. The polyamory flag was created in 1995 by Jim Evans. Okay, I can't imagine that his wife knows where he is at night if he has a wife, right? So the colors symbolize openness and honesty between partners. As blue, love and passion, which is red, and solidarity with those who must hide their polyamorous relationships, black. The pi symbol is an irrational number with infinite decimal places, represents infinite love. So it's very creative, but but think about it this way: if you're flying the polyamory flag, the messages that come from it are almost, they could be completely opposite, just like everything else here. If you're a person who is in a relationship and you're flying the polyamory flag, it's a sign that you're basically not committed to the person that you're having sex with, right? You could just, you know, it's saying that if you come here, just know this is service for all. We don't discriminate. Just come in. Just I mean, we have the right to refuse, but you don't have the right to exclusivity. So that's what the message is. But imagine, if you will, that there's a person flying this flag who doesn't even have any dates. He can't even get, or she, whatever. So this is a person who's saying that I am looking for somebody to have a relationship with, but I'm not going to commit to it whatsoever in terms of being exclusive. That's why it's so ridiculous, because a person who is flying this flag, I think most people would take a look at them and say, yeah, I'm not going to trust this person, right? Why would I want to start a relationship with somebody who upfront is saying that they're looking to start up relationships with literally as many people as possible, right? That's why they use the letter pi. Okay, so we're getting to what I think Sylar was mentioning, that there's a leather pride flag, which was created by artist Tony DeBlaze in 1989, and is a symbol for the leather community, which encompasses those who are into leather, sadomasochism, bondage, and domination. Although the flag is often associated with the gay leather subculture, it is not an exclusively gay symbol. The colors and imagery were left up to viewer interpretation. So they didn't even want to come up with any explanation for this. Whatever. But then they also needed a BDSM flag, which I'm not even going to get into how to explain that. So we're not talking about relationships anymore. We're talking about people with weird things that they're into, weird things that they like to do in the comfort of their own home, hopefully, right? Instead of out in public, which they've been doing lately. Now, gender fluid. So you already had gender queer, you've already had agender, you've already had pansexual, polysexual, but now you're going to get gender fluid. And that is those whose gender identity changes over time. A gender fluid person can identify as any gender or any combination of genders at any given time. The gender fluid flag is meant to encompass all gender identities. The pink stands for femininity, blue for masculinity, purple for masculinity and femininity, white for lack of gender, and black for all genders. So that makes a little bit more sense, right? Was there a leather pride flag in Zed and Maynard's pawn shop? Was that in are you talking about in Pulp Fiction? That's an interesting one. But no, enough. So no gender fluid. Some people want to be gender flux. Gender flux is a catch-all term for gender identities in which one gender's is in which one's gender or sense of the intensity of one's gender changes over time. A person who is gender flux experiences a range of intensity within a gender identity. It is unknown who created the gender flux pride flag, right? Maybe somebody who had the gender fluid pride flag and basically inverted the colors a few times and got this right like how could you how could you just keep making these up, right? And there are now 3 versions. However, the original is the most common used. Arc pink represents women. Light pink represents demi-girls, someone who identifies as both woman and agender. Gray represents agender. Light blue represents demi-boy, someone who identifies as both man and agender. Dark blue represents men. And yellow represents non-binary genders. Then there's the ally flag. So yeah, this was designed sometime in the late 2000s and celebrates the heterosexual and cisgender people who are allies of the LGBT plus community. The black and white stripes represent heterosexuality and cisgenderism, and the rainbow striped A stands for ally or advocate. So I mean, are you guys flying your ally flag this week? The two-spirit pride flag. This refers to a person who identifies as having both a masculine and a feminine spirit and is used by some indigenous people to describe their sexual, gender, or spiritual identity. As an umbrella term, it may encompass same-sex attraction and a wide variety of gender variants, including people who might be described in Western culture as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, genderqueer, cross-dressers, or who have multiple gender identities. Two-spirit can also include relationships that could be considered poly. The creation of the term two-spirit is attributed to Elder Myra Laramie, who proposed its use during the 3rd annual Intertribal Native American First Nations Gay and Lesbian American Conference held in Winnipeg in 1990. The term is a translation of the Anishinaabemoan term, whatever. I'm sure that in the actual tribe they're like, what? We made that up? I don't think so. I think I've heard that in reality, when most Indian tribes hear about this whole two-spirit thing, they're like, well, this is that other tribe over there. We have nothing to do with this. Now you have the gay men's pride flag. So the reason we're even doing this is because there's somebody on my way to work who is flying this flag. And I had to look up, I'm like, what the hell is this? Right? Because they have a regular pride flag, right? So they already had, okay, this one. The old school rainbow pride flag. But they had to, it wasn't enough, right? Because they're two men living together. And they didn't think that it was specific enough, so they decided we're going to fly this too, as if people wouldn't make the inference of what they are based on the rainbow flag. So they had to have another one. The modern gay men's pride flag is a reimagining of previous gay men's pride flag, which featured a variety of blue tones deemed problematic because it employed colors that aligned with the stereotypical gender binary. The flag was redesigned. The new version of the flag is intended to include a broader spectrum of LGBTQ plus men, including transgender, intersex, and gender nonconforming men, among others. Then you have omnisexual. So there's no, so again, so read this. Think if you've heard this only 10 minutes ago, why do they have to have a different flag? Omnisexual refers to a person who can experience romantic, sexual, or affectional desires for people of all genders and sexes. This is sometimes inclusive of sexual attraction to traits or behavior beyond gender, including styles, objects, or practices. The flag was designed in 2015. And the original creator never attached definitions to the colors. According to current community consensus, light pink and light blue represent the gender spectrum. Light pink represents attraction to femininity and women. Blue represents attraction to masculinity and men. And dark blue represents attraction to people whose gender falls outside the categories above. So, I mean, whatever, dark purple, why is there black in there, right? That's the question. Um, Gay and lesbian conference. They have conventions like sci-fi fans now. I am sorry, Lars says, excuse me, so they bang plans. Who do you mean? Um, Gurky says, what's bothering me, bold like a leopard, they keep flagging messages for screening that have the word queer when they've used the word in this whole presentation multiple times. Right. Yeah, that's what's so bizarre. That, in fact, I actually read um, that the word queer um, for a long time was simply a pejorative term for somebody who's gay, right? And then in the 90s, there was a group that split off from ACT UP, which was an AIDS activism gay organization. And they called themselves Queer Nation, and they sought to to reclaim the word queer just the same way that some say that the N word was reclaimed. And since then, it's sort of made a recovery. But up until then, it was considered extremely derogatory to call somebody queer, let alone a queer. So, I think a lot of these things are basically decided by people based on a whim. Finally, there are three more flags. One is the inclusive pride flag. I actually see this fairly often around. I think the people who are flying it are, usually the type who are also flying a Ukraine flag, or they're also, you know, they have like a shout your abortion bumper sticker or something like that. So this is what it says. Intersex columnist and media personality Valentino Vecchietti designed this new rendition of the rainbow pride flag. The flag was officially unveiled by the advocacy group Intersex Equality Rights UK in late May, but has since spread virally on social media. It is similar in design to the progressive pride flag, but includes elements for the intersex pride flag, the yellow and purple circle. So yeah, I've seen versions without this part too. So in fact, that's the one that I see all around town right now. So if you're flying the the traditional, whatever you want to say, the traditional rainbow flag, are you behind the times? Because a lot of people are now saying, "Oh, you have to fly the whole thing. You have to wear the ribbon, right?" And the last two are going to be a laugh. So the bear pride flag in male gay culture, a bear is a larger, hairier man who objects an image of rugged masculinity. Bears are one of the many LGBTQ plus communities with specific codes, events, and culture-specific identity. In 1970 San Francisco, any hairy man of whatever shape was referred to as a bear until the term was appropriated by larger men and other words had to be found to describe. So this is about a taste issue, right? So they had to give people a flag for that. And then they have the opposite, which is twink pride. In male gay culture, twinks are a subset of gay males that challenge traditional masculinity. Usage of the term varies, but traits attributed to twinks can include attractiveness, having little or no body or facial hair, a slim to average build, or appearing to be younger than their chronological age. So yeah, they have all these stupid flags for things that really don't like. Why would you have a flag for that? Why would you have a flag for polysexual when you already have one for pansexual? Sylar says, I remember the rainbow flag used to symbolize peace in Europe in 2004. Sylar says, I swear I was going to make a bear/twink flag joke earlier. Gurky says, get this, my wife is a teacher. Her union rep went around giving these flags out for the classroom. Cher said, no thanks. I said you should have got 4. If you arrange them in a weird way, the triangle form a swastika. No kidding. Yeah, I've seen that. Um, yeah, the thing is that these are being pushed more and more on people. And look, people have the right to self-expression, right? And people ought to be allowed to. Unfortunately, I think it does get into certain degenerate and exploitative things, especially now they're trying to, you know, um, get children into this. So I'm not saying that I'm in favor of, um, doing something, allowing people to do something that victimizes people that aren't able to distinguish between these things, right? But people are allowed to make up these things as they go along. The only issue I have is that everyone else has to respect it, because there's no reason to respect somebody ripping off one concept like they did for they took pansexual, made it polysexual, changed nothing except for one stripe, and they expect this to be some sort of deep and revered new gender identity. No, nobody should have to respect this. This is a joke. And if the person was demanding that you take it seriously, then they have to be treated as what they are. They're tyrants. They don't have any respect for your intelligence. They just want you to bow and do what they say. And when it comes to children, one of the reasons I'm so against this being used in our schools, is or introduced in any way, is because when you talk to a child, if I can still remember being a kid, right? I think many of you can't. You can't remember everything, but you could definitely remember certain things. Do you remember how difficult it was for you to sometimes distinguish between things like whether something is a gazelle or one of the other like animals out in the wild, like an oryx or something? You would look through the picture book and you would read it for a while, and you would get really into it. You would distinguish between the animals, but in the end, you only are able to make a distinction based on definitions, including color or other characteristics, right? Maybe the height, maybe the size. This is confusing the children, because in many cases, these are identities that are being taught to them that overlap with one another, right? So it's meant to totally confuse them, right? If you're being told that, here I have these pads of paper, right? So let me see. I hope you guys can see that. So these pads of paper, and I show you one blank white square, right? Let me get this out. So here's here's one square. This is a white square. And then I take another one out and I say, well, I turn this upside down, so this is actually a black square. What am I doing? I'm fooling you. I'm behaving like you're an idiot. I'm telling you to trust what I'm saying, not based on anything tangible or objective, but simply based on what I say. It's completely subjective. That's what this entire exercise is. They're trying to force you to conform to their subjective reality, and once they get you to do that, then there's no telling what other ridiculous things they can make you do. That's about it for today. I didn't want to sort of make this commentary. I know that I made a little bit of prep work, but it kind of came through pretty amateurish. But I hope that you enjoyed. I know that some of you have been watching the channel for a while, so I thank you for tuning in again, even though I don't really keep up a regular schedule. Always check back, because I have, the newsletter has been renamed to the JAFFA Wire, and I'm all about the First Amendment. Again, I think this is the stuff represented here is First Amendment protected material. It's just too stupid to respect, right? So you have the right to express yourself the way you want, and I have the right to ridicule it and make sure that others understand how absurd it is. So definitely subscribe to the Jaffa Wire newsletter, and also join if you want. There's not really anything to join, but if you want, help me to promote this Jewish Alliance for the First Amendment. It's not about anything besides encouraging changes of attitudes, because the community, if you want to call it a Jewish community, does not have a First Amendment focused organization anymore. They've a lot of people have moved on from that. They just don't respect it. And then besides that, you can also always check in at the link tree for all of my other video and social media sites. Let me pull them up really quick. So a second. That's Jaffa Wire. Here you go. So I will read them off real quick. So you can find me on Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, Podbean, Gab, Minds, Substack, Telegram, Getter, Truth Social, and Twitter. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.
And today was a day just like any other. Wasted on you, and every word you say something sweet, 'cause all I taste is blood between my teeth as I'm fighting the words. You're getting away. Well, I'm ready to drive. I'm ready. Don't stop, I'm ready, so don't stop. Keep pushing, I'm ready to fall. I'm ready, so don't come. I'm ready, so don't come. I am aware I've been misled. I disconnect my heart, my head. Don't wanna recognize when things go bad. The things that you'll accept that I am finding the words to say I'm ready. I'm ready to drive. I'm ready. I'm ready, so don't stop. I'm ready, so don't stop. I wake up to find it's another
Yeah.